Meanwhile, U.S. and Israeli forces carrying out fresh waves of strikes against Iran as the clock ticks down for the regime, with President Trump's Strait of Hormuz deadline hitting tonight.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst live in Tel Aviv, Israel, with the very latest. Trey.
Yeah, Todd, Carly, good morning. Over the weekend, dozens of Iranian ballistic missiles soared through the skies of Israel, some of them making direct impacts, others intercepted in the skies overhead. You can see early this morning an Iranian cluster munition that was seen from much of this country raining down on the population below. This weekend, the Israelis conducted a new round of airstrikes against the ballistic missile storage facilities inside of Iran. We know the Americans have already decimated the production lines there, but the Iranians still have missiles in their stockpile. Over the weekend, more than 100 people were wounded in the southern city of Arad. That's where we spoke with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to get an update on the situation. Here's what he had to say.
If you want proof that Iran endangers the entire world, the last 48 hours have given it. They have now the capacity to reach deep into Europe. They already have fired on a European country, Cyprus. They are putting everyone in their sights.
The Israelis looking to the east, but they're also looking north to the Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah that launched fresh rockets into northern Israel over the weekend, injuring at least 5 people. There were new Israeli strikes close to the border and even deeper into Lebanon as the Israelis look to put new pressure on Hezbollah. A top spokesperson for the Israeli military laying out a new timeline for this conflict.
The citizens of Israel, more weeks of fighting against Iran and Hezbollah are expected for us. With each passing day, we are weakening the terror regime more and more. We will not allow the terror regime and its proxies to constitute a threat against Israeli citizens and against the existence of the State of Israel.
President Trump over the weekend laying out a new deadline for the Iranians to open the Strait of Hormuz. That deadline does expire tonight, and there are questions about whether or not the United States and Israel will strike the Iranian power grid. Guys.
Trey Yingst live for us in Tel Aviv. Trey, thank you. Let's bring in retired Navy captain and former Pentagon official Brent Sadler. And Brent, you just heard Trey say it there. Trump's deadline a little over 14 hours away. Will Iran blink?
I don't think Iran's going to change their approach to their tactics right now. The question is, will the attacks, if they occur against the electric grid in Iran, will it actually still be a positive for the Iranian people? Will they be put into a position where they're not as able to rise up and take their country back? And will it have any tactical or operational impact on what we're seeing in the Straits? The odds are small. But again, the threat, I think, at least in Tehran, is one more thing they have to worry about.
Let's talk more about the implications if we take out their power plants, like you mentioned, besides the obvious that there's not going to be power in many parts of Iran. Talk about the ramifications. People, like you said, maybe not being able to go out into the streets. What does this mean for the next stage of this conflict?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's how the Iranian people react to it. Again, one of the longer-term effects that this war hopefully gives is an opening for the Iranian people to take back their country. And if taking out the power grids is not a net overall positive in that direction, then probably serious reconsideration about which power plants or any at all. The other is it doesn't really impact directly what's the Iranians using to shut down or to close and threaten the Straits. That is, their small boats with mines from small ports along the Straits, as well as bomb-laden unmanned vessels and drones. Those are the real targets of what's causing this chaos in the Straits right now. The power grid, though, might be an interesting one if it does put the IRGC in a bad light. But again, it's really hard to tell at this point if it'll be an effective ploy and an effective new tactic on our part. But again, you got to look at it. It's one more thing for the Iranians to have to worry about, right, and that might actually have a distractionary effect on them.
Brent, whenever we do any segments on Iran at this point, I think we need to ask the question, who is making the decisions on the Iranian side? So I pose that question to you. Who's making the decision? Who's calling the shots right now?
We know by the words of Peroshkin, their own president, that in the days after the initial attack, that all of the authorities have been delegated down to local IRGC leaders. It's one of the reasons why the missile attacks were so disorganized and actually going after cities and their neighboring countries. It was a stupid move strategically because it's turned the region against them. Have to assume that there's still a high level of local authority and local command given to IRGC commanders. So again, to shut down the Strait, you're going to have to go after probably the local commanders, their local units. more than going after a national authority, which is probably still very weakened.
The NATO secretary came out over the weekend, said he's confident NATO allies will work with the U.S. in the Middle East. My question for you, Brent, when? When is that going to happen, and what does that mean? Because if you hear the president talk about it, he only wants to be doing this war about 2 more weeks. So is this a group, the NATO allies, are going to come in at the end and say, hey, look it, we did the job after the United States, carried all the water?
Well, there's a French strike group of about 10 ships or so that is headed in its way, though the French said they're not going to participate in any coalition or joint U.S. activities. Bottom line is they don't necessarily have to in order to be a net positive for increasing confidence that transiting the straits is going to be secure. And we don't know yet if any other countries have ships on the way, most importantly from our Asian allies like Japan and South Korea. But we do know that at least on a political front, there seems to be a rallying and unity coming to that. It takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks to get there from Europe. It takes about a month to get there from Japan and from South Korea. So we're probably on the outside of still their arrival when the fighting is still happening.
Saw an interesting theory online that the United States should shut down the strait, not allow anybody passage, and that way China would ultimately get over and help its cause to get its cheap oil. Don't know if that's going to happen, but obviously so many things in flux right now. Retired Navy Captain Brent Sadler, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.